Hello again and welcome back to lists and tuples. In this video, we're going to explore two important data structures in Python, lists and tuples. These data structures allow you to store multiple values in a single variable and perform various operations on them. So let's get started. As usual, we'll create a new file and we'll call this one lists tuples. Great. Let's give the document a title, as always. Perfect. Now, first we'll take a look at lists. So, a list. It is a mutable ordered collection of values. Mutable meaning that it can be reassigned and basically edited, which lists can also store different data types. So if you remember back to data types and we had string, integer, float, boolean, these can all be stored in the same list. You can create a list by enclosing values in square brackets and separating them with commas. So the best thing to do, as always, is go through some examples. So let's create a variable here called fruits. And we're going to assign this a value, which is going to be a list, which is declared using square brackets. And let's put in a few fruits here, which will be each of them will be a string. So we'll have apple, comma, banana, comma, and we'll do orange. So this variable fruits equals a list, and this list contains three strings: apple, banana, and orange. Let's print it out and see what we get in the terminal. Great. Let's run it. Cool. So we've got fruits here, which we put as the text here to print out, and we assigned the value here. We declared the value here of fruits, and it printed out the list that the fruits variable contains is assigned to. Okay, so what we can do with lists, we can access, modify, and remove elements in a list using their index, just like with strings in the previous lecture. Additionally, Python provides several built-in methods to work with lists, such as appending, inserting, and sorting elements. So, just like when we was doing string manipulation, when we use dot notation at the end of the variable, Python has several built-in methods, and the same applies to strings. So let's go through a few examples. So we have a list here: apple, banana, and orange. But what if we need to add a new one? So maybe, we're stocking these fruits as part of our store, and we need to add a new fruit to the list. So here we can access fruits, and then with dot, and we will do append. And what we'll add here is we want to add grape. And let's now print the new list. Fruits. And what we can do, we'll leave the previous list to print as well, and we'll run it. So here's the first list that we printed, and the appended version from here now includes grape. So I guess it's a good time to mention the order of execution. We used the same variable twice, but it only applied at this line, because when you run a Python script, it starts from top to bottom. So it will print the latest version that it's aware of, and at this stage, fruits has been amended or to include grape. What else can we do? We can do fruits dot insert. We want to insert this at index 1, which in a list would be 0, 1, so it would be the item after 0, and we need to let it know that we want to add in kiwi. So let's print it out. Fruits. Let's run the script. Great. So here's our inserted version. At index 1, so 0, 1, we now have kiwi. So the insert function enabled us to do that. We can also do fruits.sort. And we don't need to give any arguments here. Let's print it out and see what it does for us. And we'll print sorted here. We have apple, banana, grape, kiwi, orange. So by default, a list of strings, it will sort them into alphabetical order, which is very useful at certain times. Great. So now let's take a look at tuples. I'm just going to comment these out for now. Great. So tuples. A tuple is very similar to a list, but it is immutable, which means its elements cannot be modified once assigned. You can create a tuple by enclosing values in parentheses and separating them with commas. So instead of square brackets, we use parentheses. So let's take a look at some examples. Say we want to store some coordinates. And we'll say 42.3601. And our latitude would be 058. And let's print that out and see what we get. Okay, let's run coordinates. And we've got a tuple here with 2 values, which are 2 floats. Okay, so you can access elements in a tuple using their index, just like with lists and strings. However, you cannot modify or remove elements in a tuple. Tuples are useful when you need a fixed sequence of values that should not be changed throughout the program. Okay, so we can access these by, say we want to just access the latitude. So we can make a variable here, latitude, and let's assign it a value. So we'll look at coordinates, but we just want the first part. So we can use an index here of 0. Okay, we'll write a print statement. And let's do the same with longitude. Of course, equaling 1. So we have an index 0 and an index 1, which is 0 and 1. So let's print. Okay, so there's the coordinates that we printed again. And now we have just the latitude, which equals the 0 index of the tuple, and the latitude, which equals the 1 index. So we've actually separated them into their own variables. So yeah, that is the basics of lists and tuples. In the next video, we'll learn about dictionaries and sets, which are additional data structures that can help you organize and manipulate data in your programs. Keep practicing, and I'll see you in the next lesson.